To be able to work on various different projects. Actually, I was quite surprised when I saw that you were part of this one. And so, what was it about a project like this that you're like, you know what, I'm gonna be a part of this?
I think I like doing action movies. You just got to find the right ones. I've always liked Keanu as a action hero because there's something kind of reticent about him. He's much softer than your usual action hero, more thoughtful. And then when I had the story pitched to me and the character they wanted to play, and got acquainted with Chad and Dave, who have such a strong background in stunt work, I like the package. It seemed like a character-driven, familiar but very specific, revenge action picture in New York. And in New York that was on one hand familiar, but also was invented. It felt very New York, but also it had that extra dimension of invention.
To work with directors like Chad and Dave, who, obviously they've done a lot of stunt and actually they've shot a lot of stuff to like prep for other films.
Right.
Then to have them then be leaders of their own ship, what kind of did you notice? Because it could have gone either way, And so how did you know that they had it in them?
I didn't. I just was excited by they expressed what they wanted to do, and they seemed just so very turned on. The action sequences, sometimes those films are made very cynically because the stories are very familiar and you're just paying off kind of set pieces with, high body counts and the right amount of noise. And this was more than that. And these guys have done a lot of action sequences and worked on a lot of big action pictures. So I think they wanted to go someplace new, someplace that was theirs. And I think both in the fight choreography and how the action sequences fit in the story, they did a very good job.
They actually, I was just talking to them, and they mentioned that for you were quite excited, like working on this. And so, what is it, like a kid in a candy store where you get to act out like your G.I. Joe, like kind of like boy thing? Is that what it was?
Somewhere, I think it boils down to that. I'm embarrassed to say, but that's part of it. I'm not a killer in life. To be a killer in a fantasy sequence, there's something attractive about that.
To work with Keanu, who I heard, he's very focused and he's really like kind of, what is it like? Because obviously he's got a reputation of working, but was this the first time that you did?
It was. I had met him before, and I'd followed him. I've seen his movies, and he was always, I can sincerely say, he was always an actor that interested me because of the range of stuff that he does, and his quality and also his performing is very specific. So the combination of him and Chad and Dave was a really good combination, and they had worked together before. So I think that sort of sold me. And then the relationship my character has with him is, Keanu is very sweet and respectful with me. So it kind of had a parallel thing that we have, kind of a mutual respect we have in life. We were able to draw on in the movie because these characters, that's important.
What I loved is like every single person that came on, whether it was like a short performance or like a long one, they all showed up and you knew immediately who they were. And it's kind of rare because, when you have, it could just be like, look, another person. And so what is it about your character that just seems so present? Like, like I love the fact that he juiced, like something as simple as that. So did you add those things or was that part of
the fact that he juices? Yeah, that's something I added, but it's a small little detail. I think the most attractive thing as he was written and as we played him is he's morally ambiguous and you don't know quite where he's going to go because it's a world of, good men doing dirty things and dirty men doing good things, and you don't know where people are going to land. And I think that's the game. That's the pleasure.
One of the nicest things of this film is you saw this kind of fantasy world where people would go to this hotel. And what was the thing about this script that kind of, even for you got a bit of a kick, kind of like?
Well, it's got a sense of humor about itself, without taking away from its kind of its heart and its kind of it's heavy in spots, but it doesn't take itself too seriously, and that's not as a hedge. It's just some kind of consciousness that certain aspects of the story are familiar because they're kind of, we deal in archetypes in telling this story. So I think that's played with. So it's got a self-referential humor that is fun.
Did you have any kind of action envy? Because there's a lot of hand-to-hand combat. Were there any moments you're like, oh, maybe I should fight in this sequence?
That just wasn't on the page. But yeah, I love doing that stuff. I mean, my favorite thing to do, whether it's the theater or film, is I love doing action stuff. It's a very pure kind of performing, doing choreography and maintaining a concentration and maintaining a certain heat in your engagement, in your commitment emotionally, but at the same time having a part that's reserved so you can shape it and control it. It's that double focus that good performing demands sometimes. And in action sequences, I like what it requires of your body and your mind at the same time.